What's the cost to rent cold spark machines or cold pyro? Well, cold pyro is actually a cold spark machine, but pyro in and all of itself, that's a whole nother video and it's on this page, and that's where we discuss the pyro. The cold pyro or cold spark machines, there's a couple of costs involved in this, and they really depend on a few factors. The date of your event, the location of your event, how many machines that you're gonna want, what quantity of spark granules are going to be needed, i.e. how long is each machine going to blast for? Yes, each machine is going to blast sparks on your intended number of minutes. All of that comes into play with how many granules or how many granule packs are split between the machines. Some of the other costs that could be involved are going to be permitting fees, inspection, site inspection or site demo fees if a demo is required in advance from the venue or the fire department or you or the company you're renting from. And of course, like I said, permitting fees, a pyro holder, depending on the location, they require pyro licensee permit holders. And what is that? That means that somebody that has specialized training in pyrotechnics, they have a license, they've been certified by that state or a reciprocity state, a state that does reciprocity. So they're licensed in one state, they are able to operate in another. And of course, they're able to handle this type of setup. You have your operation fees. So if the company's coming out and whether it's us or another company, we do operation. Now, if they're coming out and they're actually setting the machines up, they're operating them and they're striking them or taking them down, that's another fee. There's also potentially a fee that includes insurance, depending on how companies bill this, or what you might see is a fee that doesn't show up on the invoice, but the invoice says other potential fees could be charged later. What does that mean? If your event has pyro or it has pyrotechnics or cold spark machines, the fire department at their demand can come in and they can patrol, they can inspect, they can do whatever they want with respect to what their operational procedures are. But typically that fire marshal standby or inspection or site visit is a billed occurrence. That billed occurrence may be unknown at the time of invoice. So therefore, there's a caveat of if that happens, or an inclusion in the invoice, I should say, that if that happens, those fees are then passed on to the client because ultimately the client, you, is the one having the event. The company shouldn't absorb those fees. If they do, then they're charging them in advance. Whether that happens or not, that's up to the company and how they bill it. For us, it's a case-by-case scenario. We try to be as transparent with you as possible. So with that said, what can you expect when you're renting spark machines? Now, in general, if somebody were to ask me how much can I expect? Well, that depends on a lot of factors. Are they for an in-demand weekend like Memorial Day or another weekend? Or is it a Tuesday night where nobody else is renting them? How long are the spark machines? I don't need to go over everything I just did on this video. However, in general, for certain setups and certain productions, you could expect to spend anywhere from $3 to $5 grand because of permitting, again, the license holder, the pyrotechnic company. For a small wedding, is it a public wedding or is it a private wedding? Private weddings where you're operating your own machines, probably a couple $100 per machine. And then a little bit for the granules, depends on the type of granules, how much granules, how long you want the spark machines. However, if it's a public wedding, you're probably gonna fall in line with some of these other production companies that now you have to run permits, now you have to get a license holder, now you're looking at a couple grand just for that. So again, just capping this and covering the umbrella here on the information, the best thing for you to do is contact us, tell us date, location, how long you want your sparks to be activating. Is it what type of event, more importantly, public or private? And do you want us to operate it or are you gonna operate it? And then we'll ask you for a couple other additional details, and then we'll advise you on the cost of everything. As I earlier mentioned on this video is blanket costs, but we'll get more specific with your event at that time. Thank you for watching, and I hope this answers the question. This is CryoFX.